So starting off in 2025, we had the hope and promise of a brand new coaching staff. We added free agents. We went ahead and got through the NFL draft and brought in some rookie prospects. But right now, the rebuild, the dirty work, the coaches and the players have to start getting together and start turning this around, make all this work. And it starts this weekend with rookie minicamp. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So, in the overall broad sense of the process of kind of the organized activities that happen at this point in the year, the rundown is rookie minicamp starting this weekend. Then you have three versions of organized team activities on May 20th, May 27th, June 2nd, roughly the starting dates, because it's kind of like a couple of days on, maybe a day or two off, back on again situation. And then wrapping it up with mandatory minicamp in June 10th. Previous years, for as long as I can remember, a little bit of an exception in 2024 is I didn't pay a whole lot of, and I don't know how many Saints fans did pay a whole lot of attention to this process because we were always, not always, most of the time working under the assumption roster set, we're good. The veterans know what's going on. It's like they don't really need a lot of work here. It's bringing in the new guys that we're mostly looking to fill hole, add some depth, add some depth. We can't say that anymore. We really shouldn't have been thinking that the last couple of years. I think that's more than shown itself. We put ourselves in a bad position. And whether this was a planned rebuild or we just kind of backed into it, right now it's up in the air which way it's going to go. I think everybody, even the organization at this point, has to recognize, well, that's where we are. That's the way we got to roll. Keeping that in mind, looking at, I mean, start with the coaching staff overall on this. And what I'm about to say is a was a staple of the Dennis Allen era, but quite frankly, I still think it started in the end of the Sean Payton area and just carried over because we were on into that whole we want to continue the culture, but we were kind of fooling ourselves that the cracks hadn't already started to show. Couple come to mind if you think back post 2020, roughly 21, correctable mistakes that used to not appear a lot. When they did, they got corrected. Not so much anymore, and that progressively got worse season to season. And preventable injuries. Now, I'm not talking about the unlucky ones, which we've had our fair share of those, where somebody falls the wrong way, turns the wrong way in major shoulder injury or knee injury or leg injury, and they're going for the year. But more to the point, those soft tissues, we talked about that to death. And it was a real, turns out to be a real thing because all it took to kind of curb them down and almost eliminate them was having an interim coach come in and say, you know what, we're going to stretch and warm up before practices and games and see where that gets us. Even at a preventable or any type of injury level, just seemingly forever trying to get guys back on the field. And once they got back on the field, keep them on the field. So that's the starting point. Hopefully that's fixed because it's not directly to the coaching staff on the field, but the staff members they added this offseason, they replaced a lot of that in the training and in medical end of it. It has to pay off because I can't go through this process again, seeing somebody tweak a calf the very first time they get on the field to practice and not seeing or hearing from them for 6 months and just having the organization come out there, well, they're getting treatment. We'll see how it goes. No. But correctable mistakes is another thing. And kind of going into the accountability issue that we used to have. And once again, I think that started, the crack started showing in Sean's era and definitely carried through the DA area. That's got to end. And that's this new coaching staff. There's a new sheriff in town, and he's bringing his deputies. No more of that. It's got to end. Once upon a time, our coaching staff correctable mistakes. And one of two things happened. Either they didn't happen again and everything was okay, or said player was no longer on our roster. And I think we kind of lost that edge of going, look, man, we're going to stick with you as long as we can. But at some point, if you can't, we're doing everything in our power to get you to fix it. And if you can't do it, you can't be here. I think that attitude has to come back in. From the player's point of view, what I don't want to hear, obviously, is the unlucky injuries that somebody through this process, turned the wrong way, fell the wrong way, etc. I damn sure don't want to hear about preventable injuries, and I damn sure don't want to hear about players coming in. I'll just call it out of shape, but we know that there's other terms they put in there because they don't really want to call a player out. But when they say looking a little slow, looking a little heavy, you kind of get these inferences in there. Stuff the last few off seasons kind of trickulated around, but you're like, not worried about it. They'll be fine by the time the season starts. But I think it's just another crack in the organization of stuff like that never used to happen and started happening and then started happening more and more during this May to June process. So overall, I just want to see the slate wipe clean and a lot of that stuff not showing up, because the other thing that's going to happen, it's basically on the field instruction and installs, right? And a whole new coaching staff coming in with whole new schemes, whole new installs. So this is going to not only affect the new guys coming in, but some of the veterans. Hopefully they're veteran enough, they're going to pick it up real quick and it won't be an issue. But can't hear about rookies or veterans being out there looking lost, not really playing slow, not really understanding what's going on. No, not an option at this point. I think overall, individually, though, I think is where everybody's attention is. And I'm going to work under the assumption that stuff is going to get taken care of, because look, it just wasn't fans. And I think around the league, a lot of people recognized those cracks just kept showing up, and the Saints organization kind of sat on their hands for too long and didn't do anything about it. Got to rely on, well, they did something about it. They brought in a whole new bunch of coaching staff who's going to get all that fixed from the get-go. So to prove it otherwise, I'm going, all right, so that those problems have been solved. But individually, when you're looking at rookie minicamp, again, most of the time, I maybe we were looking at one rookie like Fuaga last year. Yeah, he's probably gonna be a starter day one, or should be. And that starts the process. I can't remember the last time we were looking at. I think right now potentially three names. Banks, obviously. Chuck may have the opportunity. The way the talk is kind of floating around now about the who and Saints or saga drama that's been dragging on. Quincy Riley's name has long circulated before the draft as potentially a guy that could be a starter very early in his career at corner, or even inside on the slide. And I think many ways, all three of them are going to have opportunities to plant their flag starting this weekend, going, yeah, I want to work my way up to that spot. But even outside of that, as we were talking about when we were going through all the rookie videos and the roster stuff, well, there are going to be opportunities for all these guys. And I seriously can't remember where, potentially three, but then pretty much your whole draft class in some shape or form realistically has a shot at possibly even all of them on the 53, but most of them on the 53, or a good portion of them on the 53, and the rest of them hoping you get them through waivers so you can put them on the practice squad. Now, whether or not any of that happens, again, that process is starting right here, and they all need to plant their flags, and we're not even talking about the undrafted free agents who are going to have some opportunities to do the same thing. I think we're in the veteran end of it. Now, when you move into OTAs, that's kind of more what's going to affect them. Again, the install and how fast they get it. And the older veterans are probably going to be in a little, or veterans who played in similar type schemes on other teams before they got here, all probably have a shot at catching on this pretty quick. And that's going to be important. And then get everybody else up to speed, obviously important. Now, the other thing I'm looking for OTAs, something we've desperately needed the last few seasons, and God, it's got to start happening, is when you look overall at the veterans, okay, what are we trying to build around in the future? And now that we're talking, this is what are we trying to rebuild around in the future? Specifically, for a long time, we had names going, that guy, that guy, that guy. And for the most part, they worked out, most of them. Getting harder and harder to find that right now. Your better guys on the roster, your veterans, You have so many of them are approaching or past 30 with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus NFL seasons and going long-term rebuild. Look, you don't even know a lot of these guys are at best short term, maybe 2 or 3 years left. Some cases year to year, and in some cases, you look at the roster and go, they may not be here by the time the 2025 season starts. Or even if they are, they may not make it all the way through to the end. So we're at that point. So I look at OTAs going, if you want to talk about planting flags from guys like, and this is a list of there's no real one reason why you wouldn't say right now, yes, definitely that's a guy to rebuild around. And, as I mentioned names, you'll figure it out. I'll start with the obvious is Chris Olave. If if not for the head injuries that have piled up, you're going, yeah, he's a guy. But as you run through the list, obviously Fuaga should be in that conversation on the offensive side. Kendre Miller, but we just see the flashes of when he's healthy. We don't see him healthy enough, for instance. Yeah. Ruiz at this point, you would have locked it down and you saw a considerable improvement. I think last year, maybe he's on the verge. Shaheed, absolutely. And coming, he was an undrafted free agent that's worked his way up, and you're looking at him going, man, covers from that leg injury left from last year. He could be in a legit conversation as a number one receiver for you. You know, guys like Juwan Johnson, we've been waiting forever. Look, man, it's time to show up and do it. So you have some candidates. But again, this is starting to plant the flag. Defensive side, it gets kind of worse because that's really where your veteran age is really kind of hurting you as far as age and longevity, about how much longer you're going to have them. We're not even talking about ability. That's the third part of this, right? But you feel good about McKinstry. I think you should feel good about Taylor, but he's kind of in a make or break year right now. This is last year. He doesn't. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and we don't want a repeat of the Paulson Adebo issue either when it comes to something like that. You know, linebacker, we've been waiting forever for Werner. I think he's in a make or break. Plant the flag, got to do it this year. And when you look at that defensive line, whether you're talking about edge or interior, Granderson's close. Young, you're really going to rely on to. Brzee is like halfway there because I think everybody really loves his pass rush ability, but then you kind of got to bring the run defense. And then when you start looking at other people on the roster on the defensive side, maybe bringing in Justin Reed kind of fits in there. But after that, you're hoping somebody has to have a major step up just to get in the conversation of, okay, now you have to step up to be the guy. So I think opportunities are galore for this. And the biggest takeaway is, unfortunately, we won't know crap about it on any of them when the process starts right here till you really see it. Maybe in training camp if you're lucky, but more than likely it's how the season plays out. And I think that's why this is so important because the stuff we talked about at the beginning that we didn't correct over the last seasons from players or lingering in, then it kills all chances of the player in the organization to be able to find to that, okay, whether it's the rookies, the rookie contract guys, or the guys that are in that beginning of that second contract they're really make or break. Anybody that falls in that level, it's like you're kind of running out of time because if we can't lock it down now, we're going to have to. That's another position we're going to be adding to the list of somewhere down the line. We're going to have to find the guy. And so, for the first time in a long time, I'm looking at a roster for the Saints where it's hard to find the guys. And which is one of the reasons why, as much as I'm trying to be hopeful about what 2025 is, you might be relying on potentially 3 rookies to show up to be the guy. That's a tough spot to be in. Getting some second-year players like McKinstry and Fuaga to just step up immediately. We're the guys. We can handle it. On and on. So it's interesting. It's concerning. It's hopeful. It's everything called rolled in one. And to say I'm kind of excited about the you know the off-season team activities, so to speak, or the mini camps going. Maybe actually, for the first time in a long, long time. Or I could just be the reality of I'm just grasping at straws at this point because more you look at it and you try to be hopeful, you still have to recognize, unfortunately, as an organization, we put ourselves in a very bad position right now, and this is like the first important step of getting back out of that and getting back to division winning, playoff winning, challenging for Super Bowl team that, quite frankly, we were spoiled about for a long, long time that we haven't seen in the last couple of seasons. One thing I didn't put on the rundown, but before I sign off, I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's probably worth a mention, was the fact that the last couple of days is, more breaking Derek Carr news stuff, Jane Slater of NFL Network. To me, it was more of a recap of kind of what we already knew. And with me just kind of getting real tired of the whole saga, I was like, uh, I whatever. That was kind of my take, whatever. And people have had their own takes of it and they're all over the place. But I'm like, to me, it just doesn't really affect anything. Like it didn't move the needle for me. I didn't really know why. I'm like, I guess I'm just getting exhausted of it. But something did occur to me, kind of as I was getting ready to do this video about that situation, which is the fact that it's dragging on with seemingly from either side no. They're saying, "Oh, we're coming to decision soon," and then a week later, the other side, "Oh, but we're coming to decision soon," or whatever. But I'm wondering if the decisions for both the Saints and or Derek Carr, or it's just in this holding pattern we're at right now because of another quarterback situation on another team. Now, I'm just pure speculation on this, but it's making me wonder. The Aaron Rodgers thing still hasn't happened yet. And so do we have two separate situations between a team and a player playing out almost simultaneously going, is he coming? Is he not coming? Or in the case of the Saints core, is he staying or is he going? While they're looking at the other one going, you know, well, if Roger signs with Pittsburgh, well, then all of a sudden the Saints car situation becomes clear. Or the Saints and Carr part ways, and then all of a sudden there's a different reaction coming on over here, both out of the Rogers camp in Pittsburgh, vice versa, and everything interrelated. So it's almost like, are we having some type of weird standoff between two quarterbacks, two teams, but almost in a, as they say in wrestling, a four-way dance in the ring? I don't know. But if that's the case, then I'm thinking none of this is going to get resolved till probably June 1st to June 2nd. And there's a good chance, even if everybody has a decision in this, made already and they're just not announcing it, we still may not find out till June 1st, June 2nd. So there's my 2 cents on that. And like I'm almost to the point now until we have a actual announced decision on any of this, it's just kind of like ho hum, more of the same. And I think I feel like anyway, for the foreseeable future, it's from both sides going to be kind of more of the same. So first time here, like what you saw, please go ahead, give me that thumbs up. Our algorithm loves to see the thumbs come up. Subscribe, hit notifications, all the 9 yards, so you'll know when and where we're going to be doing stuff. And it's going to be kind of hit or miss right now because you are kind of in that OTA process. Whatever may or may not break decisively about Carr and the Saints could happen at any time. So I'll try to stay to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, but the Saints and have a habit of doing something that kind of throws the schedule off, so we'll adjust accordingly. And one thing that will be coming up, I believe it's Wednesday night, NFL schedule announce will come out, and then once we get the finalized schedule of when we're playing, them, how the home and the ways and all are going to work out in the schedule, we will go ahead and have a show talking about the schedule and what it may look like in May as far as possible win loss. But all that's going to obviously well change before we actually kick the season off in September. So be on the lookout for that. And until I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.